listen, we need to get into talk about this Goy Slop. So it's a pretty popular thing. It's been around for a little bit, but I'm sure not everybody's heard about it. But Goy Slop, obviously, Outcast, you sent us some stuff today about it that I kind of had on my radar to talk about too, right? So, do you want to, I don't know, preface this by anything? I've got a couple of clips I'm going to play. And then the first one is this girl, this woman talking about the Goy Slop, and she gets fired up just like we would, and we did. And then I'm going to follow that up by the guy going to the grocery store, because it plays right in hands with things that I always thought. Yeah, it just completely. Let me see. Trump one over here on pill.net says, yes, when you got the virus, it ran its course, right? Exactly. It's talking about the measles and the pox. So crazy times, Outcast. It's just crazy times. And if you pay attention to the mainstream media, you're going to be in there getting jabbed and poked in the arm and all this kind of nonsense, craziness. So don't do that. Okay. Stop with that stuff. All right, let's get into some Goy Slop. So first of all, Outcast, why don't I called you a goyim a few weeks ago, right? And we laughed we laughed about it. But tell me why did I call you that? What does that mean?
Well, goyim is Ashkenazi Jew for cattle.
There you go. Yep.
It's how they see us. And that might shed some light onto why we work so hard, maybe. Why, what we're doing here in this whole world that we live in is if you're viewed like cattle. We talked about that earlier about feeling enslaved at times, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a very, and then it turns out that, it's not just a rare trope that's used in certain circles, because it's all over the Epstein files.
Right. We're all the goyim. Yeah. I told you we need to get some shirts that say goyim on there. Remember those ones that used to go around that said infidel on them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's the same thing.
Yeah.
And those military guys, they'd wear the infidel shirts.
I'm glad we can laugh about it, because at the end of the day, I mean, what makes Christianity unique is that we are called to love and to see everybody in as children of God. That's what Christ calls us to do, right? He loves he wants to save the world. He is not looking for a particular race or a particular anything. He doesn't want you to have a certain IQ. He doesn't care how rich you are, how poor you are, how smart you are, how dumb you are. He just loves you just the way you are. Mm-hmm. So when you hear of a group of people wanting to refer to us as cattle, it shows a superiority in their own mindset, which is it is counter to how God sees humanity. Right?
And put us into usury, use us for the goals and the needs that they want to achieve, make us go out there and do it so they can get it achieved. It wasn't just as simple as being a chattel, but also slaves to their every demand and wish. And if we don't do what they want and wish, well, then they have the the wherewithal, the self authority to beat us and spit on us, right? We've seen all that going on. Anytime somebody was in a particular area and started holding up, you're talking about Jesus or holding up Jesus signs or crosses, they would get spit on because we're just goyim. It's crazy, Outcast.
Well, that attempt to elevate oneself by looking down on others and considering them to be lesser than you it's an attempt to absolve themselves from the guilt that you would normally feel if you hurt somebody. Mm-hmm. But if you can just justify that they're nothing more than cattle, then you don't care that you enslave them or keep them from ever being able to get ahead because of the amount of, death that they have incurred. Lending on interest in the Torah is against the rules. You're not supposed to do that. That's against God's will. But if you can say that somebody is lesser than you in the genetic scale on some level, then you get to feel good about yourself while you're ripping them off, right?
Right.
It's insidious. But Jesus calls us to love equally everybody.
Right.
So that's
Amen.
Yeah, it's a different way of looking at the world, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
for
a
sure.
very, very, very different way of looking at things.
All right. Well, I think we've done enough setup here. Let's get into what this girl is talking about, the Goy Slop. And pay attention, you guys, because next time you go grocery shopping, you will see exactly what we're talking about and what these people are trying to portray. And in a way, I've always looked at it this way, Outcast, because of organic and all these things. But are you guys ready for some Goy Slop? Let's switch on over here. All right, she's got it. We got about 4.5 minutes of this. And Outcast, if you want me to stop at any time, we'll stop and talk about it. Here we go.
I want to speak to every generation that came after a millennial right now, because this is actually massively important. There's this new trend going around called Goy Slop, where basically like fitness and health content creators are now realizing that every single product in American grocery stores, right down to your cleaning products, your body soap, your shampoo, your conditioner, your Windex, your
I just want to bring this up before she gets into it further. Remember the terms kosher and halal. That meant a lot to me when I heard all this stuff. Then I finally realized all those years ago what I kept hearing these words. Let's keep going.
Your food, your cereal, your protein, your meat, so on and so forth, is Goy Slop. And Goy Slop is basically food that they intentionally poison to get you sick while charging you for something that doesn't even cure it, really just treats the symptoms, right? So the pharmaceutical companies own the food manufacturing companies, own the farmland, and they're all in bed with the government. And that's why they call it Goy Slop, because our government is currently being ran by the Prime Minister of Israel, who hates Goyams, who hates Shiksas and Gentiles and anybody he doesn't deem to be a Semitic Jew, even though he isn't even a fucking Semitic Jew. I know, it's ironic. It's a lot. Just try and follow along, because the point of the post is actually this. It's actually very important that you start.
I saw you laughing. Right. You good? Good?
No, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to warn you guys. There's some language because she gets fired up. She gets worked. Here we go.
Paying attention to what goes into your body. That's not a conspiracy. It's not a sales pitch. It's not some hippy dippy tree hugger trying to convince you that you need to eat healthy or be one with the earth. No, they are intentionally fucking poisoning you. And let me tell you something as a fucking millennial. Goy Slop didn't become popular until the early 2000s, like closer to 2010. That's really when like all of this shit went mainstream. And I can tell you with definitive certainty that growing up, childhood sickness and obesity weren't a thing. Nobody had diabetes or thyroid problems. You know, it was very rare that people were overweight. And if they were, it's usually because they had poor eating habits. This massive amount of obesity that's everybody has to take prescription drugs to lose weight. A calorie deficit and a balanced diet are no longer an option. And when I tell you guys that my generation didn't even grow up eating this, but every single person I know started struggling with their weight around the same time. I have a friend who is now 41 years old. By 35, she had 2 strokes, is blind in one eye. I had 2 other friends before 35 had to get full hysterectomies. I have another friend before age 35 had to have her thyroid removed, and now her spine is deteriorating in her body. This shit is actually fucking deadly. It's batshit insane. There aren't that many sick people. That is a statistical anomaly. They are intentionally making us sick. The Goy Slop decreases your hormones. It gives you cancer. It gives you obesity. And then they're withholding cures. The rest of the world has cures for these diseases, whereas the United States has a treatment that makes you another customer. So fall down the rabbit hole of fucking Goy Slop and start finding healthy alternatives, because like literally you get one body. You get one fucking body. And I am telling you right now, as a 41-year-old woman, I struggle massively with my weight. I'm on a constant calorie deficit. I have to go to the gym 5 days a week. That's non-sustainable on your muscles and your joints. Your body does start to break down, and then I don't have anything nutritious going into my body. Right now, they're trying to diagnose me with what they think is an autoimmune disease that I'm convinced I got from the COVID vaccine, that I only took because my job gave me a free year of health insurance.
She fell for it, Outcast. That sucks, but she's waking up. Listen, we got a minute left.
If I did. Nonetheless, you know, you could go on for days and days and days and days and days about this, but Goy Slop is real, okay? It is now a confirmed fact that they are 100% feeding us poison so that they can withhold the cure and turn us into another customer to feed us a treatment of it. And that's fucking sick and seditious. So again, your life literally depends upon you taking heed to this advice. And if there's anybody out there who can create a list of non-Goy Slop products, that would be awesome. I would drop that all over my page. But other than that, that's all I really have to talk about today. I'm off to church. It's Lent. Stay prayed up. Evil Satan worshippers are currently controlling our world and feeding us poison while raping and eating our babies at Epstein Island. See?
Even though she fell for it, even though she fell for that jab, she's on point right here, Outcast. Go ahead. You understand what I'm saying?
Dude, I did not send you that video. I have not seen that before. So that I don't know where that came from, but she ain't wrong about any of it. They're not feeding the rest of the world this stuff. So I think there's even I can't help but think there's a greater purpose in all this too, feeding us garbage, is that if you have a armed citizenry like the United States has and a constitution, and you cannot win in a kinetic war, how do you bring it down? You have to bring it down from within. How do you do that? You have to attack every single thing that makes us strong and healthy and mentally sharp. Okay. So that could be using Hollywood music and culture to create more single parent homes. So you destroy the family union, you destroy the education system, you destroy the health, and you take over the medical system, and you enslave from within, and not a shot has to be fired. That's what I think a lot of this is about too. But the whole concept that she's got here, she's not wrong. She's right about all of it. Why are they feeding us this garbage? And, and their answer is, at the very simplest level, is that there's money to be made on the other end of it when we're sick. Another thing that she mentioned too is, she mentioned it's our body. You only get one. What have I been saying for the last couple of weeks? Once you are a believer in Christ, this is Yahweh's tabernacle.
Yes. Tabernacle.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're attacking the tabernacle of God. How do you like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Listen,
Wow.
To put it in simple terms, very simple terms, Goy Slop is the American diet.
It is.
Okay. It's our food, you guys. It's our food. You know what pig slop is, right? I grew up on hunting in a farm. They had pigs. What do we give them? Pig slop.
Garbage.
Because they eat and process anything very fast.
And everybody I know that goes to Europe on vacation loses weight, and they ate like kings. They ate well, and they lost weight. And everybody goes, well, it's because you walk so much in Europe. And it's like, yeah, I don't, maybe.
Think about the gluten that we have here. Think about all these things. My daughter was there, for 2 months last summer. She lived there in Spain. She could eat everything. The spaghetti noodles, the bread, all of it. She could eat it all. Okay. She comes back here. She can't eat that stuff. It hurts her belly. She doesn't like it. I'm not a fan of all that stuff either. Me, you know how I like to roll. I'm big on meats and water and cheese and eggs, but I can pretty much eat anything. It doesn't really bother me. But so many people, even in the family, that it does bother them. But when you're getting fed Goy Slop and you don't realize it, it's going to take its toll. We think we're going out there and trying to do the right things. No, it's not there. I have more. I've got more. Go ahead.
Every time I eat processed food, I feel crummy. I feel gross. I feel
we're not supposed to be eating
tired.
Yeah. 313 Boot Boy. He says, dude, honestly, this is one of the main reasons I have gone into keto diet and buying majority of my meats from local Polish Italian butchers. There you go. Yep. And that's pretty much the reason why I have three different ranchers now that I buy beef from, Outcast, and they're all grass fed. I know where they're at. They're all local. It seems to me the way to go. My chickens give us fresh eggs daily over here. They're starting to lay again right now because it's nice out. Getting better. But listen, Goy Slop is pig slop that they give us, the Americans.
Do you have that other video that I sent about the kosher shopping?
Well, I'm going to play one. That dude, right? Is that he's in? So. Yeah. Let's go to it right now. So this is a guy. So remember I said, keep in mind halal and kosher, and also think organic in your head. And I'm going to get some organic stuff here in a minute, but let's go over to this video and see what this guy's got going. He's in a supermarket now, a grocery store. You'll probably go to it tomorrow.
Alright, I want you to check this out because it's real. This shit is real, what they say. Watch this. Keep these ingredients, bro. Unbleached wheat, flour, water, salt, right? No poison.
Now he's in the aisle where the kosher section is, and he's just reading products off the shelf. This is for all you audio listeners who aren't watching this. He's just standing there in the kosher section, little section, right? Reading off the ingredients of these boxes.
In here, watch this. Even this, right? Check this out. Look at these ingredients. Sulfite-free coconut, invert sugar, tapioca starch, egg whites. Super clean foods, bro. But only for them. Here's another one. Watch this. Look at this. Unbleached wheat, flour, salt, and water. Wow. No preservatives, no seed oils. Oh, and look at that. Of course, New Jersey. And product of. Can't make this shit up, yo. It's crazy. Literally everything here. Seed oil free. Processed sugar free. They get the best of the best while we get the Goy Slop. It's real. Shit is real, bro. I'm gonna start eating kosher now. Every time.
This whole time, Outcast, when I was telling you about kosher and halal, and I always had friends that would eat that stuff, and I didn't know why. I know that they had there's a friend who has had a wedding. I'm talking back in the 90s, and he was getting married, right? And for some reason we were talking about the gift registry. And I was looking through, and somebody else I was looking through, and one of us said, "What's all this? It's all kosher pots and kosher." It did make sense to us. I was like, "What what the heck is kosher mean?" I only thought of kosher pickles. I just thought it was the flavored pickles that I like them. I didn't realize it was attached to some sort of religion. Is that proper? Is that correct to say? I didn't know that at the time. You know, I was just like, what do you mean kosher pots and pans? What? Well, they're meaning pans that aren't going to kill you with nonstick stuff on them and give you Alzheimer's and give you dementia and all these things. While we are out here making eggs and cooking stuff on all these nonstick pans and scratching that stuff off using metal forks and metal utensils and scratching that off in your food. And now 30, 40, 50, 60 years later, you see our grandparents getting Alzheimer's, dementia, whatever it is. This whole time, and they're sitting there cooking and eating and drinking out of kosher, clean cooking preparation materials. Drink out of glass, not plastic. Use stainless steel. Use cast iron, real things. And here we are eating plastic and metal coatings. It's crazy.
So I saw a comment here from Music Lover, and I agree. I've never heard of kosher cookware. They have, because as far as I knew, kosher means that it was blessed by a priest. But so I always kind of thought, well, why would I pay extra for kosher? I'm going to line the pocket of a priest or not a priest, of a rabbi. Why would I line the pocket of a rabbi by paying maybe extra for kosher? I always that was my logic. So I'm like, I'm not going to buy kosher. But now I'm learning that they have cleaner food. But are you saying that they have kosher cookware that has less toxins in it?
Yep. Yes.
So that means, I think, so the code word kosher makes the goyim think that it's just been blessed by a rabbi.
Right.
But now we're learning that it's actually code for them, that it's non-toxic. Is that in every regard?
Exactly. Now, don't forget, kosher is also used in a sentence a lot of times. Well, that sounds kosher.
Not kosher.
Yeah, that's not kosher.
That's not kosher.
Right. Think about that stuff. We didn't know what they were talking about. We didn't know.
It's got a whole new meaning.
Kosher's clean. Kosher's organic. We were never told. But back in the 90s, that really freaked me out. They have to eat off kosher silverware. Some of it's real silverware. Okay. When I'm saying silver, I mean silver, not this, chrome plated zinc junk metal that flakes off and gets into your body. No. I'm talking about clean everything, you guys. None of that plastic. No. Glass, stainless steel, cast iron, wooden utensils. That would all fall under kosher. Go ahead.
Have you ever noticed this, Jesse, that when you buy, let's say, mixed nuts from the store,
Mhm.
and it comes now in a plastic container,
Yeah.
in very short amount of time, those nuts turn bad. Like,
Yes.
there's
They're absorbing.
It is nasty, dude. That is such a bad trip when that happens. I hate that.
Yeah.
And
If you can buy them bulk,
funny,
do that.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody else. They said years ago, and they said that they went to a potluck at a house where the owner of the home was like the CEO of a major plastic company. Okay. And they went to the potluck and they came in with Tupperware,
Mhm.
and the wife of the owner of the home said, no, you can't bring any plastic in here. We're only serving food out of glass. He was the head of a plastic company, and plastic was forbidden in his house, especially in regards to food.
Yeah. Yep.
And yeah,
I learned a lot from this kid. Yeah, I learned a lot from this kid back in the 90s, and he was younger than I was. I believe he's still married, got a bunch of kids now and stuff, but she had to convert to Judaism in order to get married. He was, man, I haven't seen him in years. I wonder what he's up to. In Kegel, that's where they grew up at, just not too far from right in between me and you. Not too far, but yeah.
And I've kind of heard that the concept of making somebody convert is sort of not kosher.
Yeah.
Because you're in the Jewish tradition, you are not Jewish unless your mother's Jewish and her mother was Jewish and her mother was Jewish and her mother was Jewish. You got to be Jewish on your mother's side. So if you marry a Gentile woman and she converts, their children will never be considered Jewish. So that's kind of a misnomer. That conversion is sort of like it's a gesture, but you're probably taking an oath that you won't try to tell them about Yeshua. That's probably all it means.
Music Lover says, it sounds just like when Bill Gates said his teens had limited phone use and couldn't just play with their phones at home. Pre-smartphone too. Yeah. Same with Steve Jobs. He says, no, my kids, they'll never have an iPad or phones, these Apple products. No. So when I talk about this food in halal, I guess is the same thing, but I saw that Music Lover put something in there, Outcast. But halal was supposed to be clean too. They don't eat the pork, right? The pork in the Bible says we shouldn't be eating it. There's so much. Yeah. There's so much about pork that we should not be eating. And it talks about the hooved animals versus the split toe animals that we should not be eating. Okay. Is that, hang on. Not split toe.
Cloven hooves.
Cloven hooves. The pig is the split, but also is the deer, the venison. That's clean. So maybe I'm wrong in that, but I know for sure it was the pork. Cast those demons into the swine. Remember all that? That's crazy. And there's some people out there actually talking about pigs are the swine are full of parasites always, and those parasites are casted out demons, right? I mean, we've talked to people at length about this stuff on this show, Outcast. It's crazy.
Parasites are probably pretty hard to avoid. They're, everybody's going to have them to some level, but they can get to a critical mass where they can destroy your health.
Yeah.
But there's also this, for anybody who's listening for the first time, the concept that we've come up with is that the demonics will find anything that they can live in.
Yeah.
And when Jesus cast out a legion, which I forget what the number is, I think a legion is at least 4,000 soldiers or more into a herd, into a swine herd. That's a lot of. So what if some of the parasites in that pork also was considered a home for those demonics as well? They'll live in anything they possibly. I mean, if they'll try to inhabit a carved idol, if they try to, they'll inhabit anything. AI. They'll try to talk to you through a Ouija board, right? They'll do anything that they can to have some semblance of life because they have been denied that. And they're roaming the earth, bored out of their mind, wanting their old lives back. In my mind, I don't think it's a stretch that they would jump into even the smallest parasite and say, I'll chew on the inside of this pig for a while. It's better than walking the earth without a body.
Mm-hmm. You know, when we had Nathan Reynolds on, and Music Lover put it right here, she says Nathan Reynolds has spoken once or twice on why he avoids pork products at all costs. You know, and I've
Does he
noticed
say the same
myself,
thing?
yeah, because of this whole, you know, the whole demonic thing, and you know the relationship to the Old Testament and all that. So, yeah, there's a lot of people that know we shouldn't be eating pork, but yet we get down on that bacon on Sunday morning. Outcast is what I'm seeing. It's so hard because it's so good, you know. So I'm trying to avoid it as much as I can. The bacon is probably the downfall for us. Yes, Shelly Pollock, but I love bacon. So do I. I know, and it loves you too. But we probably should not be eating that. That's probably some nasty food.
My weakness is a little prosciutto in some cheese and a cracker or something.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, you know, I'm well known for cooking up some pulled pork sandwiches in the summertime around here. So it gets crazy. Amber Dawn, she says, "Hey guys, sending love. Just had a 3-hour conversation with my nephew. Well, I hope it was productive." Yes, I do.
I'm sure it was.
Have you ever been to a pig farm, Outcast?
I don't know if I've been to no, I don't think I've ever been to a pig farm.
I have. I've been to a bunch of them. I used to be on them.
Right?
Oh, it stinks, and they act crazy, and it's insane. It's insane. These pigs. I see them at least once a week. But I feel sorry for these pigs too, man, because they just love that slop in the nasty stuff. Oh, Deb Santos, what's going on? She says pigs don't sweat, so they can't release those toxins, right? And they eat everything. They eat human meat. They eat everything. They grind up the teeth. It's bad. A music lover. Oh, talking about beef bacon is another recommendation I've heard rave reviews. Yeah, you know, so is turkey bacon, all that stuff. It's not the real thing. All right, you know you're not eating the real thing, and it tastes different. But yeah, the pigs are crazy. They're nutty. I've been around them a lot. I've had to shoot a couple just for our pig roast and all that stuff before. So yeah, it's wild. Let me see. Yeah, God is moving with that stuff. She says he was talking to Tony on the confessionals, and Tony butchered his own pig and controlled their diet. And Nathan said he still wouldn't eat it. Yeah, I know. Pigs are a rough animal, but I'm telling you, they're tasty. And Outcast, I think we need to wean ourselves off them for sure.
I've been trying to. I avoid it.
Yeah.
And then once in a while, I catch myself. I'm like prosciutto. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that's bacon. That's pork, isn't it? Like I was in denial. I was eating it. You know.
Yeah.
I get the organic stuff from the organic market, but still, it's
right.
pork.
So I've got some notes. I'm glad you talked about the organic stuff here, because I have some notes. Because as soon as I started hearing about this Goy Slop and talking about the kosher and halal, well, that falls right into place with organic. You know, and I thought to myself, so I started going down this rabbit hole of, look, I remember when I was a kid, when all of us, we were all kids, right? Food used to be naturally just organic because it was food, and they weren't really doing manipulation to it. Yeah, they could throw some nasty stuff on there, some sprays or whatever, chemicals or whatever, but it was still actual food. I'm talking before the GMOs and genetically modified stuff came out, right? So food, it used to be organic by default. Here are the key reasons why food today is not often organic by default anymore. 1, industrialization of agriculture. In the 20th century, farming shifted from small family farms to large-scale industrial agriculture. This is nothing new. We all know about this stuff, but I think it's kind of powerful to read it in this context again, okay? So I'm not going to take too much time, but I'll skip over a lot of this stuff. Now, to produce the massive amounts of food efficiently, farmers began using synthetic fertilizers, chemical pesticides and herbicides, and mechanized equipment. These methods dramatically increased the yield, but moved agriculture away from purely natural practices. Right. Synthetic fertilizers. Before the 1900s, farmers relied on manure, compost, and crop rotation. Now, these points ought to remind you of the way our grandparents used to grow food, and that we can still grow food, and pretty much the way that I still grow my stuff when around here, okay? After the development of synthetic nitrogen fertilizers, especially after the Haber-Bosch process, farms could produce much larger crops quickly. See that, Outcast? Convenience for speed. Speed for convenience. There you go. This reduced the need for traditional organic soil management because they can just throw stuff on it and artificially change the ground that it was on. Chemical pest control. Chemical pesticides became widespread after World War II. There's a reason why, because they had so much abundance left over of explosive materials that somehow ended up in our food and our dental products, Outcast. But that's another story for another time. When wartime chemicals were repurposed for farming, they allowed farmers to protect crops more reliably, prevent large losses from insects and weeds. However, these chemicals are generally not allowed in certified organic farming. Here's number 4, feeding a growing population. Now, this one kind of bugs the heck out of me. It always has. The global population, Outcast, exploded from about 2 billion in 1920 to over 8 billion today, if you believe them with their numbers. Governments and scientists push for methods that produce more food per acre, including, here we go, the hybrid seeds, chemical fertilizers, and intensive farming systems. This movement was also called the Green Revolution. Could you imagine that? They're calling it the green. What does that do to one's mind when you hear the Green Revolution? You think healthy, you think good for the planet, you think all these things, right? Just another mind psyop word, which dramatically increased the yields but relied heavily on non-organic inputs. Number 5, organic became a certification. The word organic, they stole it, Outcast. They stole it and put a label, a regulation, a label on there. Originally, all food was essentially organic. But as synthetic chemicals became common, the term organic had to be formally defined and regulated. By who? By somebody you didn't vote for. That's who. For example, the U.S., the U.S. Department of Agriculture, right, created the National Organic Program. Farmers must allow strict standards, no synthetic pesticides, limited antibiotics, specific soil practices to label food as USDA organic. Imagine that, Outcast. A government body that nobody voted for is now telling us, defining our food terms, and then telling us how those terms can be used. Isn't that funny? All right, here's the last one, number 6, cost and efficiency pressures. Modern agriculture operates under tight margins. Non-organic methods often reduce labor, increase yields, and lower short-term costs. Because of this, conventional farming became the dominant system. In short, food didn't stop being organic because nature changed it. It changed because modern farming technologies and economic pressures favored higher productivity over traditional methods. So your health, yeah, you guys, all of us, we are the Goy, and the Goy Slop is our diet. With the help of our government right there. Look, there's generations of our family members, us, our friends, our family, again, fell for it. We all trusted. Think about the seedless grapes, the seedless watermelons, the seedless fruits. Guess what is the most important part of any fruit? It's the seed. Any vegetable, the seed. What does Monsanto do? Well, now they're Bayer. But they controlled the seed. The farmers couldn't get the seed that's going to create seeds later so they can reproduce again in the next season. No, they had to get the stuff that the Terminator seeds. Remember those? They're still around. Terminator seeds mean you use them one time, then you got to go back to the manufacturer to get more seeds. Biblically, Outcast, how does that line up? What are they doing to the seed? Terminator seeds.
Jeez. Yeah, and if we go back now, granted, there was the falling away, in the Garden of Eden because of our sin, but God gave us everything that we would need to live off of, and you can tell that the agents of Hasatan, or whatever you want to call him, the devil, they want nothing more than to cut us off from God's creation, cut us off from God's provision, cut us off from God's word, they corrupt and defile everything that made this a place where you could be in communion with the Lord and sense his blessings on you. But now everybody, I mean, young people, I mean, everywhere I go, I'm hearing the most outrageous, you guys wouldn't believe the stories I'm hearing about mental illness in my offices, and, crazy stories, murder, everything. People are losing their ever loving minds.
Yeah. You told me about some of that stuff. It's wild.
But where does this come from? I mean, our brains can't even function. I got to say this too. I mean, that's why it's important to make time to bless your food before you eat it.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to eat clean. You can't avoid it, but you can also pray and ask God to remove it. Anything that's in it,
That's my grandpa. That's what he always did. And most of that side of the family, that's what they always did. They would sit down and pray over the food. And most of the time, my grandpa, he would just be like, he'd look down and give it the cross, give it the cross over the food, and say his little, 2-second, 3-second prayer, whatever it was. I find myself saying this same kind of stuff. Please let this be nutritional and filling and healthy and therapeutic to my body instead of a sickness to my body. Even if it's got those chemicals on it, please turn those to water once it gets inside me. Things like that.
For anybody listening, here's my way of doing it. You can do your own version of this. Thank you, Lord, for this food. Thank you for the hands, thank you for this food. Please remove any impurities that may be in this food intentionally or unintentionally. May this food nourish my body and strengthen my muscles and my bones and strengthen my mind and strengthen my connection to you. Bless the hands that made this food.
Yes. Awesome.
Right?
Yeah, that's it. Same thing with what you're drinking. Same thing as the medicines you're putting in your mouth. Same thing is it can be applied to anything that you're going to put on your body topically. We are so far down the road of deception and so far away from the original intent, Outcasts. Earlier up there, I said that the word that bothers me is feeding a growing population. There's a problem here. And I had this issue with a friend a long time ago when the GMOs started really coming out. This was probably 2012, 2013. And I was really on this whole Monsanto, I was into that stuff and digging deep. And, the GMOs were really starting to hit our shelves and really starting to grow and be into everything. And I brought that up to her. And her response was, "Oh no, we got to feed the world and be healthy or be have enough food for the world." And at that point, I really didn't have a whole lot to say, but to back up my point of view as to it's not right. But I've learned that whole psyop that we thought that it's up to us to feed the world. No, we went around. Now I don't know who the we is. I can guess. Went around the world, starving countries, restricting flow of goods and vital help and things that they needed. It wasn't until our interference. When I say our, I still don't know exactly who our is, but I've got to guess. And then we came up with the term, well, now we have to feed the world. We have to take care of the sick and all this. No, they were able to do that way before we came along and said we need to do this. These people knew how to grow things. Okay. These people knew how to raise animals. It wasn't until we sent our agents. Again, I don't know who the we and the are, but that whole thing of us needing to grow and feed the population of the world, no, that's something they needed us to buy into. Go ahead.
I feel like I'm getting a download from God.
All right. I want to hear this.